also from WESG. Oh my.
Actually, on the topic of high Templars, there's just one thing I like to say. I'm not a balance complaining or anything, but like
you can come on. That's the point of this show. Go. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
The change that they made to high Templars where they get the auto attack, like that just made no sense at all. Like that had nothing to do with the professional game. It just made Protoss easier to play in like the lower levels, which is like a really curious decision considering Protoss is like definitely easier than Terran. I think we can all agree with that. So that fact. Like that just made no sense at all to me.
I feel like, and I think you hit the nail on the head where it was a lot for lower levels to make it the same thing with the observer. Oh my god, what's that mode called? Surveillance mode.
Surveillance mode, yeah, and the overseer.
And the overseer, and those are all I think lower level moves. I don't particularly know how if it was effective, but you know. Obviously, with the whole free-to-play and new players coming in, I feel like that's something they planned ahead of time, that they knew that players would have that problem. Actually, do you find those changes affect you guys at all, like in terms of Terran play, like surveillance mode specifically, or does that have any effect on Terrans?
There used to be this thing where like if an observer was in surveillance mode, it would make like some special sound or something so you could hear it, right?
I think they changed that.
They patched that. They recently just
they patched that,
which made no sense. Like that should be a counter to like scanning an observer in surveillance mode, right? Or else like there's no way to find out it's there.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of the whole like observer thing. Just because like there's some special setting you have, or some special graphic settings that like make observers more easy to see, and like you always see pro players like zooming in and out to like try and see the observer shimmer. And it's like I've never been convinced that like being able to like see this weird cloaked unit should be like considered a skill within the game,
right. As opposed to like scanning for it or detecting it not like outside of it. When you say that, are you suggesting like it shouldn't be considered skillful to like be able to see the shimmer?
I'm not sure what a solution is to it. It's just like I'm just personally really bad at it, I guess, and it's frustrating that it basically like I don't get any advantage out of the ability out of the ability for people to or out of the ability for you to like see the observer ripple or whatever.
And that could be sort of said about any cloaked unit in some way, I guess. Like,
well, I mean, I hate DTs too. Like, you're not going to.
Because like that, like DTs was gonna be my next comment, where like I feel like DTs would be like, if you see the ripple of a DT walking across, as opposed to like even with the observer, observer just means something seeing you.
This
DT
actually
means something's coming at you.
You remember earlier I said when you use aggressive builds like Hellions, you can get counterattacked and then have to deal with it. This is like exactly what I'm talking about, where Uthermel did a ton of damage with Hellions plus one of mines, but he still might struggle to defend the counter.
Okay. Yeah, so like, I think in this game, like if Classic opened like the proper way with the blink, like he could just end the game right here. Just go blink on top of the tank and end it. But he opened like robotics first, which doesn't make sense at all. Like, nobody does that.
Was there possible that he was planning for something else for the Terran when he did robotics first?
He was probably doing what Maru was doing in this tournament as well, which is using bad builds to like to not show the good builds later on in the tournament. They call Maru used like the 2-on-1 several times versus 4-in-0s.
I mean, he did a 2-on-1 against Dark too, though.
Okay, yeah, like once in GSL, like that was the end. Though.
Okay, so Uthermel was able to push back Classic from the push. Now that could obviously be like what you had said. It was just a weird composition of going Robo instead of Blink Stalkers. That could have made it. No, when you mentioned earlier, Buster, the idea of when you push and you play aggressive with the Hellions, that opens you up to counterattack. Is that all the time, or is that mainly in this matchup? What do you find?
Well, against Zerg, Hellions serve a different role. They're mainly for map control and just like keeping you safe. So I'd say like losing them actually. I mean, it's
like killing a lot of workers. Like against Zerg, you don't really want to like sack all your Hellions and just kill workers. Like versus Protoss, if you do make Hellions, like that's their only role. Like, you have to kill workers. If you don't kill workers, what are Hellions gonna do? But against Zerg, like they have a different role. You can keep them, turn them into Hellbats and keep them up for like
So here we are right now. Actually, before I come back to that, Classic has dropped DTs. How does DTs affect? How do you guys feel about DTs in general in your TPP?
Oh man, do you remember? Okay, at the Kings of the North playing qualifier, my very first game, I lost. Like I'm Grandmaster, and I lost to a Platinum Protoss because he just won DTs and killed me. So that sums up my feelings towards them.
Riddler, yourself?
I mean, yeah, like at this point, I think most Terrans just accept DTs as part of the game. Like they're such an old unit, and like you just have to prepare for them like properly and like scout properly. Like I think they're fairly like fair, but it's just one more part of the Protoss cheese book that you have to deal with.
I guess the thing that really bothers me is it's not like DTs show up, and if you're unprepared, you're behind or whatever, the same way like with a mind drop or whatever, it's actually just like you die. So even if you're way better than your opponent, you can still just like lose the game for kind of no reason.
Now, couldn't that be said the same about Banshees?
Actually, there's one other thing you have to mention about DTs is that if you do go DTs and do 0 damage, like that's still fine. If you do go Banshee or Hellion drop or Little Mind drop, if you do 0 damage, you're definitely behind.
Yeah, if Protoss does 0 damage with a DT drop, they're only a little bit ahead. Like it's actually.
Why is that? Is that because it's a gateway unit, or is that because?
I think it's because Terran. It basically forces Terran to save at least one scan. Like you have to build turrets. Just the investment needed to deal with it is pretty big.
And also, the DT
would you find DTs as like an example of what we were talking about? It's easier for the harassment versus the response.
Yeah, definitely. It's really easy late game, especially for a Protoss just warp in like 5 DTs and just like. Send them all
to bases.
Yeah, and like you compared them to Banshees earlier, I don't think that's exactly true. Banshees run out of energy eventually, and if Protoss just has a shield battery and a mirror line, then one Banshee can't even like kill probes. They'll just like get out healed by the shield battery, for example. And like even when against Zerg, you would think that Banshees showing up would do a lot of damage, but Zerg is actually just so good that they can lose like 15 drones and still be fine.
I think Banshees has fallen out the meta versus Zerg just because right after the Queen buff. Like
because every Zerg builds like 8 queens anyway, so it's like it's like hard.
It's so true. Banshees. And then, so even though that game went by really fast, at the end of the day, ESChamp ended up winning. What were your thoughts on why ESChamp ended up winning that game?
I mean, his first Widow Mine Hellion attack or whatever did so much damage that I think it was really his game to lose after that.
Maybe Riddle.
Well, yeah, definitely. Like that game, like ESChamp betted his entire early game aggression on that build to get the Widow Mines in, get the Hellions in, and then he did what he did. He did accomplish that goal, so he was definitely ahead after that.
And the thing is, like, just a lot of the time we are talking about mid-game, late-game Terran, but I wanted to throw that one in there because I was curious to kind of see the idea, like, Terran, and we're more discussing mid-game, late-game, but do you guys feel that in the early game, Terran has struck, at least somewhere on par with the other two races?
The early game, you were saying?
Yeah, early game. Like early game.
My sound was like cut out for some reason.
See, I was saying that even though this particular episode is focusing on the mid game, late game, that match we just showed up was obviously an early game with DT Rush, and I wanted to ask, do you guys feel that the early game is on par, or if Terran might be stronger in the early game?
So against Protoss, I think Protoss is stronger at every point in the game, basically.
Okay.
Like even if you're like 2-base all-in a Protoss, they could like take a third and like meet you mid-map and like still have a better army than you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And then earlier on, I would say Protoss has better cheeses with like proxy void ray, shield battery builds and things like that, double proxy robo. And then I would say Zerg early game is kind of comparable to Terrans with like a slight edge to Zerg, and then at least if you're going bio.
It's just for Zerg that they also have the Queen, which is such a good game, or a good early game defense in all versus all forms of harassment.
Okay, Buster, I need you to leave that game. So we can
sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so we're gonna go into